Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in and happy holidays to you all. I'm taping tonight from Florida where I'm back for Christmas. Just got in tonight and yes, it's sunny and warm, but it's still weird that I'll be spending Christmas in shorts. I do it every year, I don't know why it's still weird to me. Anyhow, I'm just happy to be around family and friends. And you may have noticed that the video quality is much improved, and this is due in no small part to the fact that I finally got a new computer. It's a MacBook Pro. I've wanted one for years and years, and finally the timing was just right. Before I left for Florida, we had to close down the library for the semester, and this year, before we closed down, my staff and I had a small holiday party. Last year, I didn't even have the chance to think of holding one. Part of me thinks that this is perhaps a small marker of accomplishment, that we managed to get things together enough prior to the end of the semester that we had a little spare time in this way. It's not to say, of course, that there aren't materials that didn't make it back in, and that's always part of the end of the semester too, chasing down those checked out materials. However, I couldn't have accomplished anything this past semester without my terrific staff, and I know I'm incredibly lucky to even have a staff, which is why I'm going to devote this blog and possibly another one, because I'm looking at that little clock in the corner and it's kind of scaring me, to these lovely ladies. As I've mentioned before, managing people was one of the biggest challenges for me when I took on this position. Because it possibly is more important than actually preparing music, because we're dealing with people here. And it can be fascinating, but it can also be very difficult. You have to be careful just all the time, and because yeah, they're people, and that's kind of the most important thing. There are 5 people on my student staff. There are 3 undergraduates and 2 graduate students. They're all music majors, playing in both wind and orchestral ensembles, and also a couple of them from time to time playing the new music ensemble, which is really exciting for me. And for whatever reason, they're all girls, which can be extremely entertaining from time to time. Uh, the students can work up to 10 hours a week, which means I can get up to 50 extra hours of manpower per week. But it's not always the case because life is tricky. And from time to time, the girls have to reschedule because of emergency lessons or master classes or auditions, or in the case of those who are in athletic bands, the away games and the championship games. Of course, it's best when they can adhere to a schedule, but I have to be very flexible and considerate of them too. After all, they're here at the university to learn, and the library is a great venue for furthering this education. However, their primary classes, the ones they are paying money for, are the most important ones of them. I think part of my job is looking out for them as people, if that wasn't clear enough by now. And so, for example, if they're sick, I'll send them home. If they haven't gotten any sleep the night before or are obviously exhausted and worn out, I will probably also tell them to just go home and reschedule their hours for another day. After all, if they're working while they're just extremely tired, chances are that their work will suffer. And they won't get any better, they won't be feeling better, and in some cases, myself or they will have to redo the work, possibly, depending on what it is. And those are just not fun situations for anyone to be in. The members of my staff are assigned by art directors through an application and interview process. One of the biggest surprises of this job in the first year and a half was learning that students actually want to work in the library. I've had a number of them come up and ask how they could be on the staff for next year, or learning that they were kind of asking each other, members of my current staff, how they could join in, which is fun. It's quite amazing. I'd never thought something like that would happen. And I've taken on volunteers now and again to just give them a venue to explore. A lot of these students wish to be band directors, and they all probably have to be running libraries of their own. And so I'm more than happy to give them the time to just explore and see how things are done, and maybe just sit in the room and watch the operations, the day-to-day operations go on. When I meet my new staff for the year, I try to get to know them and assign tasks that center on their interests, either those that they tell me about or the ones that just kind of come up through in conversation or in their day-to-day tasks. I pay attention to the tasks I perform better than others in the staff or the tasks themselves. For example, one of my staff members is particularly talented at data entry and organization, so I often assign her to digital catalog entries or for materials or performance histories, or also taking care of filing the programs from previous years or ones that have just passed by. Another one of my staff members is very involved in athletics, and I usually have her act as a liaison with the members of those bands because there are many, but she also knows many of them personally and by name, most importantly, which can establish a good connection between the library and these students. One of the things that everyone in the library loves doing is stamping the music, though, so in cases of that, which occurs during processing, I have to make sure that everyone gets a chance to do it because everyone loves doing it and everyone does a pretty good job of it. I don't think everyone's messed up on that, so knock on wood. When there's a little breathing space between the concert preparations, I will assign projects to the girls, just these long-term projects, and I try to assign them based upon their skills, their particular skills. And some examples of these projects are the stacks of musics that have been left by my predecessor and that need sorting and identifying, or maybe inspecting, inventorying, and organizing any of our smaller collections within our large collections, such as our reference book or audio collections. And I hope that by assigning these, I can maybe also add to their music education in a unique and also hopefully useful way. This year, I held an orientation before classes began, and I also wrote up a handbook for them to refer to in the cases I was away or unavailable. The handbook has to be updated each year based on how directors like things run, but the orientation was really useful because it gave us a chance to start things on the same page, or hopefully. Despite all this, though, we all still sometimes fall off the proverbial page, or we lose track of it. And what happens then, I am going to save actually for the next blog. So in the meantime, happy holidays to you all. Thanks again for tuning in, and see you all in the new year.